Good afternoon and welcome to The Rundown. I am your host, Captivating Christian, and here are some of your top stories for today, the 11th of August. Trump asks judge to block New York City grand jury from seeing tax filings after Supreme Court strikes down immunity. Trump evacuated from briefing room, reports of a shooting outside of the White House. Also in Trump news, Trump's order on unemployment benefits is a big mess. That extra $400 is actually $300 unless your state feels like kicking in the rest. And a Manhattan man shot dead in front of his wife after flicking a cigarette on the ground. And Facebook fires employee who shared proof of a right-wing favoritism. And many black Trump supporters' social media accounts are fake. Let's get to the news. Attorneys for President Donald Trump this week asked the Manhattan federal judge not to allow a New York grand jury to review his financial information. According to Bloomberg News, Trump's attorneys made a request on behalf of the president on Monday. Prosecutors for the Manhattan District Attorney, Cypress Vance Jr., have hinted that the president is being investigated for a hush money payment to adult film star Stormy Daniels and other possible fraud. The Supreme Court allowed the case to move forward early this year after ruling that the president does not have absolute immunity from subpoenas or criminal prosecution. Good afternoon and welcome once again to The Rundown. I am, of course, Captivating Christian. On this part of the segment of this afternoon stories, I like to give my personal commentary. So after you hear the actual article, you then hear my take on it. So let's get started. First we have this particular situation with the Trump lawyers, the president's lawyers actually, trying to block these financial documents going to a grand jury. This is all very interesting because they have been trying for the longest, they being the Trump administration lawyers, have been trying for the longest to block anyone from seeing the president's financial dealings and who he may be connected to. So much so that he picked the judges or the justices that many of the Republicans suggested, and the quid pro quo of that was that these justices were going to rule in favor, if in fact it ever came down to it, where they would be asking him to reveal his financial documents. He would take it to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court would help him cover it up and block it. However, that did not happen. The Supreme Court basically told the president to his face that he was not immune or did not have any immunity because he was the president. He is under the assumption that under Article 2 of the Constitution, he can really do whatever he wants. However, the Supreme Court told him no, he cannot. So then therefore he has to answer to the subpoenas of the District of New York. So the Federal District of New York has issued for his tax returns or his financial dealings, dealing not only with his payments to the film star Stormy Daniels and that other young lady, but also his financial banking situations with companies like Deutsche Bank. They want to find out all that entails. And it's a lot of money laundering, a lot of cleaning up dirty Russian money and all this kind of stuff. So all of this stuff, Trump's lawyers are trying to block. Like I said, he had the justices brought on to the Supreme Court in hopes that when it was time and the pressure got to where they were pushing to reveal, that the Supreme Court would stop it. However, they did not. So now he is fighting to get these information blocked before it goes to a grand jury. Because if it goes to a grand jury, then we're looking at criminal charges. But the thing you need to watch here is the reason why Trump left his New York residence. He is no longer a resident of New York, is because he already knew that once his financial records gets out, he will face criminal charges. So he changed his residency from New York to Florida. So then therefore now he would have to be, if in fact New York judge charged him with criminal charges and they find out that he had some criminal dealings, he would have to be extradited from Florida to, New York to face charges. And more than likely that governor will try to pardon him or do whatever he can to cover Trump. So, everything is done for a reason. It is pretty crazy, but interesting at the same time to actually watch corruption in full-on view, and people cover it up and then act like they're not covering it up is funny too. But anyway. President Donald Trump was escorted from his daily coronavirus news briefing at the White House on Monday, later saying a shooting had occurred just outside the White House. Just as the president was delivering his opening remarks to his usual briefing, a Secret Service agent approached the president and told him to leave the briefing room. Trump inherently followed the agent out, and the White House quickly shut down its live stream of the briefing. Just a few minutes later, Trump returned to the briefing room saying that there was a shooting outside of the White House. The president said the Secret Service shot someone who was then taken to the hospital. Trump didn't have any details on the shooting except that the person was armed. Ever since protests started springing up in front of the White House early this summer, Secret Service agents have constructed heavy barriers around the White House grounds. The building, which is normally easy within view of multiple points open to the public, is surrounded by layers of fencing and wall. The Secret Service confirmed an officer was involved in a shooting on the 17th Street of Pennsylvania Avenue, only 1 block away from the White House grounds. All right, so here we go. Again, more Trump news talking about the shooting around the White House. Now, I've said this before, and I know it sparks on the what people call the conspiracy theorists or conspiracy theories of those of us who think a little differently. But there's a lot of heat and pressure on this president right now that if any new documents or any new things drop, it would basically blow open and kind of ruin or kind of destroy his re-election, bid for president once again. So all these little things, again, they're sad situations and kind of, you don't want nobody to get hurt or anything like that. But it just makes you wonder. You have the coronavirus skyrocketing, right, with infections and deaths. He goes to do a briefing, which he normally does. He has this New York prosecutor breathing down his neck about financial records. Then all of a sudden, to break that all up in the news, there's a shooting by the White House. No name is released of the shooter, and he was shot and sent to the hospital. Again, I've said it before, I'll say it again, and I'm even going to say it in another story moving forward. But ever since there was this talk of defunding police departments and taking their money away, there has been this increase out of nowhere of shootings, as if, the police said, oh, we're not going to police. We're just going to let everybody have a free-for-all, which I totally think is BS. I think somebody's behind it. And if they have to shoot, somebody, of course they'll shoot him in the arm or the leg or whatever, send him to the hospital. But you see no name was released of the shooter and nothing of that nature. Now, if something comes released after I release this, then okay, whoop-de-doo. But I still think it was something to divert from news. Remember who we're dealing with. We have a president who is into media and television. So he knows how to have something diverted to draw your attention to something else and to take away from the things that are most important. So I would not count it unlike him to create a scene so we can divert from that and talk about, oh, somebody tried to shoot the president at the White House. Which, I mean, it could have been anybody. It could have been an officer. It could have been a planned agent to do it. And again, avert everybody's attention to the coronavirus, the numbers, the fact that people are dying, that children are now getting infected as they push to reopen schools, just to change the conversation. Just pay attention. Hey, this is Captivating Christian here to remind you to tune in to Politics and Wellness every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Politics and Wellness every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. You never know what you might get. And in more Trump news, President Donald Trump announced over the weekend that if Congress wouldn't extend the $600 enhancement unemployment insurance, that he would do something himself. I'm taking action, he said, to provide an additional or extra $400 per week to expand the benefit, Trump said on Saturday at his golf course in New Jersey. But $400 is not $600, which is what the benefit was until it expired at the end of July. And it turns out that the extra $400 is actually $300, unless states feel like adding an additional $100. And the money isn't technically unemployment benefits. The president's memorandum tells governors that they can apply to set up a brand new lost wage assistance program through the Federal Emergency Management Agency. The program would operate in tandem with states' unemployment system, some of which took weeks and months to deliver federal benefits earlier this year. If any laid off workers watch the president's news conference over the weekend thought that they were about to get paid, they might wind up disappointed. The president's announcement is partly a negotiating tactic on a broader coronavirus relief deal. As the memorandum says, the new wage assistance program shall terminate upon enactment of legislation providing federal unemployment benefits. The senior White House aide told the Huffington Post on Monday that there was no movement on a deal right now, but it's all hands on deck at the Treasury and Labor to get money out to the people as soon as possible. In addition to lost wage program, the president also ordered the Treasury Department to defer the payroll tax withholdings, which would give workers more take-home pay, but it wouldn't actually waive their tax liabilities, meaning that they would have to pay it back later. Negotiations on a sweeping deal remain a problem. Democratic leaders say that they've come down $1 trillion from their initial $3.5 trillion request, but Republicans say that the reduction is mostly budget gimmicky. Democrats just changed the expiration of some programs to temporarily lower the cost. Republicans and Democrats, however, are still at odds over unemployment benefits, that they are also still fighting over money for state and local governments, a liability expansion for companies that reopened, and a write-off for state and local property taxes. The man you love to hate. Once again, we're back at it talking about who else but Donald Dumb Trump. But but anyway, so he's such a character. Like it's so bad to the point where it's like you almost wish people could see it right on. Okay, so he writes this executive order for this additional $400, right? But he doesn't have the power to do that because he does not hold the money. Congress is like the bank, right? The Treasury has the bank, but Congress is like the person that goes, okay, you get it. Like the Congress is handing it out. You know what I'm saying? Like the Treasury has it, they go to the Treasury, and Congress really hands out the money. So the president can write a whole bunch of executive orders, but as far as anything that's dealing with actual money, Congress still has to okay it and send it out or not send it, whatever. So, okay, with that said, President Trump this weekend signed an executive order issuing $400 to unemployment benefit recipients, or an additional $400. Now, here's the catch to that. Again, I just told you, Congress is the only people that have the power to do that, right? Right. So with him signing that, it does nothing. But what it does do is something that he can use later, because he already knows that the Democrats want $3.5 trillion. They went down $1 trillion to kind of appease the Republican Senate, because of course they're deadlocked. There's a Republican Senate and there's a Democratic House. So they're kind of deadlocked. They have to come to an agreement somewhere. Now, what Trump wants, of course, is to get rid of the payroll tax. These payroll tax is something that companies pay into. Remember, he is a media guy. He has a business to run. So all he's thinking about is things that interest him, as far as having to dish out. He doesn't want to pay anybody. He'd rather take the money for himself. He doesn't want to pay out any additional money. So he wants to get rid of payroll tax. Now, in this signing, right, he wanted to get rid of payroll tax, which, you know, some people think, oh, okay, cool. Those taxes you take out of my paycheck, I can get those. That's extra money in my pocket. Yeah, it is extra money in your pocket, but at the same time, they're going to keep tabs on that. And then when this is all over and you're back, you know, to work on some sort of a consistent basis, they're going to take all that money back. So you'll probably be working for free by the time it's all over. So yeah, definitely not a move. Then on top of that, this $400 back again, it's only $300. The additional $100 has to come from your state. So if your state doesn't want to give you the extra $100, if they don't apply for this relief act that Trump is talking about, you won't get it. You will only get $300. Then on top of that, if in fact you're waiting for it because you think it's coming because it's an executive order, right? If Congress passes a bill this week, that thing he just signed is null and void. So then you don't get nothing. You get whatever they make up in their plan, and you don't get the executive order on top of that. See, he just does this to then sit back and say, well, I signed an executive order. It's the Democrats holding up your money. See, look at the Democrats holding up your money. When in all reality, you have the Republicans sitting over here saying, well, we want to make sure that in this new stimulus package that we send out to the people, that the employer cannot get sued when in fact we send everybody back to work and people get sick. So then you cannot sue the company for not cleaning your facility properly, for having you work around hazardous things and situations that may in fact get you sick. You won't be able to sue your company. So then you'll be stuck trying to cure yourself of this virus on your own. It's crazy. It really is crazy. But they are doing it. That's what I'm saying. Voting has not become this important in our lifetime. And it really is. And be sure to join Jay Wilson, Rebel Sun, The Official King Payne, Conscious TV, and Captivating Christian this and every Thursday at 6:45 Central Standard Time, 7:45 Eastern Standard Time for the Gentleman's Panel, where we are not afraid to go there and discuss an array of topics. See you there. Curtis Holly from Manhattan was with his partner near East 165th Street and Prospect Avenue in the Morrisina section of the Bronx, New York on Saturday, August 8th. When the shooting took place, police responded to a 911 call at approximately 8:45 p.m. and found Holly lying unconscious and unresponsive on the pavement after suffering a gunshot wound to the abdomen. Emergency responders transported Holly to Lincoln Hospital, where he was pronounced deceased at 11:55. Officers have not officially released any information in regards to what led to the shooting, but a police source cited by the New York Post said that Holly was targeted after he flicked his cigarette in the direction of three men. The group are said to have taken offense to the action, prompting a dispute during which Holly was shot. Detectives were reportedly spotted searching for CCTV footage of the incident from stores along Prospect Avenue. Though some businesses were closed and unable to provide video, sources say that the gunman chased Holly and shot him near St. Augustine's Presbyterian Church. Holly was one of a number of victims in New York's 5 boroughs on Saturday night, as the New York Police Department revealed the next day that shootings left another 2 people dead and several others injured. All right, so here we have an unfortunate story of a young man who lost his life in New York for possibly flicking a cigarette at 3 other men. Now, we don't know any details because even those details are sketchy. When the police say they arrived on the scene, they found the young man shot in the abdomen and unresponsive. So there's not too many details. They do know from what they've gathered from other witnesses that there were 3 men who were accosting this man, and I guess in retaliation he flicked his cigarette, and then that's when he was allegedly shot. Don't really know the full details of this. Again, this is all just speculation. It is very crazy, however, again, like I said earlier in the previous stories, that there is this uptick on high of all of these shootings after movements like the Black Lives Matter and other protesters after the death of George Floyd start to look back at the police, the departments as a whole, the money that they receive from government agencies, the equipment that they receive from our military, and start to say, hey, they're getting way too much to just police neighborhoods, and like this is war tanks and gear and tactical gear. They're getting way too much. So you start talking about defunding, and I'm on this so much that I really think the police department really ducking their heels, called any kind of side little things they had and said, hey, work those streets. So people can start to go, oh no, we need the police. Look at all this that's happening. People getting shot. Look at this, look at this, look at this. Oh my God. See, that's why we need the police. We don't need to defund them. We need to have more of them. It's all a game here. It is all a game. And we are the ones that are going to wind up losing our lives. So it can look like we need all this extra policing. It is unfortunate that this young man died, but to not have any evidence of exactly what happened, and all these stores that this man and his partner was around happened to be closed, a lot of it's just ringing that something's not right in this. Something smells real fishy. And I'm gonna just say it. It just smells really fishy that something else is at play here. Even down to Chicago with every weekend all these shootings. It's something far greater here at work to prove a point than it is where people are actually going out here and just killing people on a random. It's something to prove a point. And if it's just defunding the police, if it comes down to when we find out that, oh, because we were talking about defunding the police, people were undercover doing all these killings and shootings and trying to pin it on people of color or groups of color, it's really going to be hell to pay. And there will be no vote that will be able to overturn the amount of chaos that could really run rampant through the streets, because this non-violent stuff will only last but for so long. The social media giant Facebook fired a senior engineer this week who collected evidence showing that the social media company is giving preferential treatment to a right-wing account, according to reports from BuzzFeed News. The engineer, who BuzzFeed did not name, recently posted information on the workplace showing that Facebook was giving preferential treatment to conservative accounts to help them remove facts from their content. Facebook later deleted the post on Wednesday, and the company fired the poster. The firing comes after Facebook employees confronted the CEO and founder Mike Zuckerberg over preferential treatment for right-wing sites during the all-hands meeting last Friday. The employees pushed Zuckerberg on how Breitbart News could remain a Facebook News partner after sharing a video that promoted unproven treatment and said masks were unnecessary to combat the coronavirus. Facebook deleted the video 6 hours after Breitbart posted it on its page, but has already racked up 14 million views, and other sites continue to share it. This was certainly one strike against them for misinformation, but they don't have others in the last 90 days, Zuckerberg reportedly said. So by the policies that we have, which, by the way, I think are genuinely pretty reasonable on this, it doesn't make sense to remove them. Facebook's fact-checking rules cite that can limit the reach of pages that reportedly share misinformation. But NBC News obtained evidence that Facebook relaxed its rules for right-wing accounts such as Breitbart, the former Fox News personality Diamond and Silk, and the nonprofit media outlet PagerU for the pundit Charlie Kirk. Normally, Facebook's fact-checking team gives strikes to accounts posting misinformation, yet documents given to NBC shows that some employees with direct oversight from company leadership delete strikes during a review process that was issued to some conservative partners for posting misinformation over the last 6 months. Okay, let's get in here. I've already told you that I've been side-eyeing Facebook since 2016 and their involvement in all of this election fraud and stuff like that. And here we have it that an engineer, a software engineer for Facebook, basically put them on blast that they have been taking down strikes for misinformation from conservative groups that still have Facebook pages and still push out propaganda till this day. Now, back in 2016, remember old funny face Mark Zuckerberg was like, "Oh, I didn't know anything about it. We didn't know anything about it," and everybody, on the news spectrum, as far as the commentators, was like, "Well, you're the CEO. How do you not know that you have Russian money coming in to support something that's going on?" He had to know. He knows. He has to know. No, I didn't know. We're making these, we're doing these things to kind of make sure that there's no interference in our elections, because our elections are so important. And here you have it, clear as day, that they are at it again, and Facebook is allowing it to happen. That some people, almost like how YouTube does, that there are some people who are flagging these pages and channels and posts, and then they of course they put in their request to have it reviewed, and the top people who are supposed to be reviewing this and taking it down and letting the strike stand have been secretly taking the strike away so they can continue posting this misinformation. People like Diamond and Silk, Doofus and Doofus, and others, totally just running rampant. But the question is, where is the money coming from? Because we know people like Diamond and Silk and Brett Bart probably does have the money to be paying, but where is this big money coming to that Facebook is pocketing and allowing all of this stuff to interfere in election once again? Not only did you allow the interference in 2016, here you are back in 2020, 4 years later, and allowing it again. Obviously, you're with the shits and you're here for the show. So that's why I'm saying I don't trust Facebook. Like, they're out for it too. They're all in it. So yeah, just watch what you do. Watch what you're posting. Watch what information you're giving out, because yeah, Facebook's working with the Russians just like almost everybody else is to get Trump reelected, because there's some interest in whatever Russia is selling to a lot of these big corporations. A lot of this money, people, they talk bad about Trump all they want, but they'll go behind a voting booth and vote for him because he's making them money, because he's making money for himself, and they know it. And everybody's trying to get as much money as they can while they can before these regulations come back and they can't make no more money. So everybody's trying to cash in, and that's all it's about, but at the expense of regular people like ourselves. So I don't know, it's just real crazy. Capitalism at its best. Facebook has reportedly removed dozens of accounts of black Trump supporters discovered to be generated by a troll farm in Romania. The social media company says that the farm of accounts violated its policies against coordinated inauthentic behavior. A July enforcement activity report states that Facebook removed 35 personal accounts, 3 pages, and 88 Instagram accounts for violating our policy against foreign interference, which is coordinated inauthentic behavior on behalf of a foreign entity. Activities by the pro-Trump network originated in Romania, according to reports, with some of the hashtags on Instagram reading hashtag Black People Vote for Trump. The pages have about 1,600 followers on Facebook and about 7,200 people following the account on IG. Facebook also removed hundreds of fake accounts connected to a media group, a conservative media group organization, which is said to spread conspiracy theories about the coronavirus pandemic. The network consists of 303 Facebook accounts, 181 pages, 44 groups, 31 Instagram accounts. Combined, these troll accounts had about 2 million followers. All right, so here we go once again. Facebook. So a lot of here we are not surprised. A lot of the Facebook posts that say Blacks for Trump have been false, have been coming from a farm out of Romania. Okay, so again, here we are once again with Russian interference in an election, and no one does anything about it. And here we have these toting Republicans who are always talking about America first, and all of this about America, made in America, this, that, and the other America. But it's okay to allow a foreign country, no matter where the foreign country comes from, just because the foreign people look like this and they don't look like this, don't make it any different. They're still foreign. But, they have a huge issue with foreign interference, and everything needs to be America first. But it's okay to let a foreign country come in and finagle an election as long as your candidate gets to win. What have we come to? Like, really, what have we come to? You turned, I guess you turned a little swamp into, like, it done spread from a lake to the ocean to it's just, this whole thing is getting so big that when it all unfolds, and I'm sure there's some corruption dealings in all of this on both sides, and when it finally gets exposed, there'll be a lot of people that won't have any political futures, because there'll be some people that even we will be surprised that they were somewhat entangled in that on the back end. Like, they may not have wanted him to win, but they put their money somewhere in some kind of investment that if he did win, they were still going to be able to walk away with some pocketed money. I would not be surprised if people on both sides have been doing it, because this is just too much. Too much interference, far too much foreign interference, far too much kind of finagling and twisting arms to kind of make sure people get in prominent office to then do the most corrupt things. Because if he wins another term, you think you saw corruption when he had checks and balances, quote unquote, which were never really used. But he would have a whole term to do whatever he wants, whenever he wants, and nothing to check him at all. Nothing. And especially if they get to keep the Senate. If they get to keep the Senate and Democrats keep the House, they're still at a deadlock. So you even if he does do something where in which they can bring him up on charges again, he's not going to be impeached, just like he wasn't the first time. So I really don't know. This is really starting to get interesting and deep, but scary at the same time, to know that things can be done to wipe away your very presence at the voting booth. You understand that the post office general are taking away jobs from post office workers to the point where when election day comes, that's already happened in New York, that your ballot may be sitting in a pile somewhere waiting to be delivered, and it won't get delivered. And if it's not postmarked by a certain day at a particular location, they may not count the vote at all. So, and this is done just to ensure that he wins if people go out in droves and wind up doing mail-in ballots and voting in absentee and mail-in because of the coronavirus pandemic. So again, they are ensuring that they cover their asses in every way they can to ensure that they get the most possible votes to ensure that not only do they win the presidency, but they maintain power in the Senate, and try to push to gain back power in the House. But we have to stand together as a united front and push against it. And if that means we have to, stand in line for some hours and wear your mask, we need to do so. If that means, hey, find out what your postmark date is to get your mail-in ballot information in, you need to do that. Go to vote.org, find out the information for your particular state, because every state is different. So let us not think that just, it's one state, one umbrella, because it's not. Find out what state, from your state, find out when your deadline is to get your information in, and do that. It is imperative that we do that. They are working, okay? While you're sleeping, they are working to ensure that this man and his tyrant activity continues on. And we cannot stand for another 4 years of the same. Once again, thank you for watching CCN Midday News. Hope you enjoyed. Please like, share, and subscribe. Also hit that notification button so you will never miss another news update. Have a great day. Peace.